Right, now that we've got the clock running and we can tilt the tray backwards and forwards, we can get to the ball to the destination. But we need to find some way of actually ending the game. So what we want to do is display a message and stop the clock. Right, so displaying the message is quite easy. All I need to do is add another box to the canvas, as we did before. Text. And call it Game Over Box. Right, let's go back into 2D so we can see it. I want this in the center of the screen, I think. So Alt and Shift, we'll put it up into the center so we can see it there. I'm going to put something else, not game over, but mission accomplished. If I can spell it. Looks pretty good. Okay, and the other one, I'm not going to wrap it or truncate it. I'm going to use my font. It's good to be consistent about fonts. It's in there. I'm going to have it centered and nice big. Okay. It looks pretty good. That's pretty good, and I think I'll have this. Nice bright red. And I think I'll add some effects to it as well. So, again, on the user interface, we've got effects. I'm going to have an outline around this. Yeah, that looks not bad at all. It looks okay. Right. So we've got something to say the game is done. Move that up a bit. I think I'll also put in my replay button as well. So it's exactly the same as we did with the other game. Down a bit. Okay. And again, remember the text is inside the button. I'm just going to leave that button white like that, but you know how to colour it if you want to do that. Bigger. Okay. And I'm going to call this button Replay Button. Okay. So I'm going to move those a bit closer together. That's okay. Down a bit. Don't fiddle about too much. Okay, so we just need to make sure that these things are not visible when we start off. So we go to the code again. So this should be familiar by now. So we've got remember we're putting these in as a game object. So we can set active to be false. Right, so we've got and we can also put the restart button on here as well, because they're both game objects, so we can declare them all in the same line. Okay, and at the start we need to set them active false. So we've got name of the box. Oops. And then restart button. So that should make sure that at the beginning of the game they're out of sight, they're invisible. Right, we also need to have our Boolean game over, but that's private. Okay, so game over. And at the beginning of the game, of course, it's false. Right. Now we only want this update to go on if it's not game over. So if it is game over, then we don't want any of this. So we're just going to put a little if statement in at the beginning. So if game over, return. Okay, so none of the rest of it will be done if the game is over. We've set game over to be false, so it will do it. So we need something to stop the game. So I'm going to make this public. It's void. Call this end game. Now, when we end the game, we'll get around to showing how we end the game later on. We want to say game over equals true, and then we want to show the box, the information. So we say game over box dot set div true, and the button as well. Start button. Okay, and that should end the game. And of course we need something to replay the game as well. Remember, for this we do need the scene manager, so we'll put that in as well. And again, this is going to be a public function because we're going to call it from outside here. Oops. Forgot to put in my return value. And as we did before, scene manager dot load scene, which is reload the whole of the scene and start again. Okay, good. So we've got a function in place to end the game. It's just how do we actually get to that point. Right, so I'm just going to save this for a moment. You can check it if you like, but that's okay. Let's go back to Unity. Now, I'm just going to hide these messages because they're in the way a little bit. It's just updating itself. Come on. Okay, good. Right. So, game over box. Again, you can hide the things just by... Okay, they're still there. They're still there, but that's okay. And I'm going to add references to our script, the game control. Okay, so game over box. That's in there. And the replay button. I'll put it there. Okay. Right, so we need something to mark the end. So Here you can see that this is going to be the beginning of the maze, and I guess that's going to be the end there. So if we want to find out if something is hit something, you should be thinking along the colliders, triggers. Right, so we need an object here which is going to stop, or which is going to recognize when the ball has reached this part of the maze. Right, so I'm going to add an empty. I'm going to reset it to 0, 0, 0. And I'm going to call this destination. Yeah, reset that to 0, 0, 0. Right. Oh yes, we're still in 2D, back to 3D. Right, there's our object, but because it's an empty object, it's clearly invisible, which is a bit of a problem because we want to actually see it. But we can show it with a special icon. So if we click on here, I'm going to show it with, say, this blue diamond. Right. And now, if we just zoom in on it, you should be able to see at the intersection of the axes there's a blue diamond, and which gives us an idea of where the thing is. I want to position it just over here. Right. So probably the best thing to do is to view it from the top, and remember that we can just click on the icon there, and there's the top. Right. So the end of our maze is down here. Now, at the moment we've got it in perspective view, so we can see that this doesn't look as if it's on top, it's on the edge, but that's only because of perspective. So I'm going to click here, and now we've got an isometric view, and you can see the ball is over the top of the maze there. So we need to position this over the place where the maze will end. Okay, so have a look at that back in 3D. No, I'm not going to look at it from here. Right, so I want it to be inside the tray. I'm holding down the scroll wheel just to move the whole thing around. Right, and scrolling with Alt to home in on that little diamond shape there. Okay, there's our destination. Now, we need to have some sort of box around here as a collider. So I'm just going to add a collider to that. The physics, the box collider will do very nicely. Okay, so there's our box. I'm just going to reduce the size a little bit, so perhaps 0.8 all the way around. Okay, because I don't want it to actually touch any other collider, I just want it to be there in space. Right, so that's our collider, and we want this to be a trigger. Now, one of the things we have to be sure of is that that destination box stays with the tray. Now, if we have a look at this tray and I just rotate it slightly, you should see that, okay, so the destination is not moving with it. Just put that back again. Now, to make the two objects move as one, we have to make this destination the child of the tray. So I'm just going to take it and I'm going to drag it up to the tray. Okay, so there I've got the highlight, and now the destination is a child of the tray. And if I move the tray now, you should see, oops, sorry. If I move the tray now, it moves with the tray because it's a child. Okay, and children always follow the parents. Okay, good. So now we've got a trigger on the destination. On the game it'll be invisible, but we know it's there. We can add a little message, a little piece of script to that, so when it triggers it's going to end the game. Right, so I'm just going to add a script here. I'm going to call it Stop Game. Right, so let's edit the script. Okay, so I need a reference to the game controller. Okay, so I'm just going to call it controller. I don't need any of this. I'm going to delete those. All I wanted to do is to respond to the trigger. So we have to put that in, it's just expected, but we're not paying attention to the other collider at all. All we want to do now is to send a message to this controller. So I'm going to controller, send message. And we created a function there called endGame, which is a public function, which means it's available from here. So all I have to do is put, say, end. Oops. Okay. I don't think I spelled it correctly. Yeah, endGame. There we go. So what this will do is that as soon as the ball enters that collider, it's going to send this message endGame to game control, which will end the game. That's it. That's it. The game should be completed. Oh yes, we need to add to the button, don't we? Yeah. So the replay button. Yeah. We also need to add the controller to this, so it is game controller. Right, okay. I do regularly forget to do that. Yeah, so we've got this replay button, and we need to be able to point it to a script when you click on it. So again, click, and the object is the game controller, and we're looking for the function, which has to be a public function in game control, and it's restart game. Okay, that's it. Let's save it, and we should be able to run it. I'm not going to go through the whole game here because it'll take quite a while, knowing my lack of expertise in game playing, but if you run the program you should find that once the ball gets to the end of the maze it should trigger the game over message. Okay, well done.